ask any school-specific questions. So all of this will take about 2 hours. So without much ado, I'll get started. Our first school I want to call upon today is University of Virginia at Darden, and we have Hemant Das representing them. Hemant is the Principal Advisor for India Initiatives for the University of Virginia, Darden. He's Darden to advance the school's impact and engagement in India and the region. He holds an MBA from the University of Cambridge Judge School. Welcome, Hemant, and over to you.
Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Vineet, for the warm welcome and introduction. Let me just quickly share my screen and then we'll get started. I hope you can see that in the presentation view now. Can someone confirm that they can see?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We can, Hemant.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Really excited to be here. Really excited to kind of share information about Darden and what to expect as you kind of navigate through this process and you're thinking about your kind of journey in the coming days and weeks and months. Great timing from our perspective because we just launched the new admission cycle a couple of days back. So this is for the class of 2024, which will start in the fall of 2022. So great timing. And typically when you start off early, it's always a great kind of journey to kind of go through that, right? So before I kind of jump right into specific things. So just a quick note, I mean, I'm going to kind of give a very brief introduction about a few things. And then we'll open it up during the breakout room or during the Q&A where we can get into more detail, right? So just a quick note about Darden. So Darden is a global business school. It offers a dynamic alumni network spread across 90 countries. It's been rated the best education experience in the United States by economists 9 years in running. They have a very nice, diverse and inclusive culture, nice sense of community, a lot of student scholarships. It's part of the University of Virginia, which is a public Ivy. University of Virginia was set up by Thomas Jefferson, who's the third president of the United States in 1890. So when you come to Darden and the University of Virginia, there's a lot of history, a lot of legacy, and a very interesting community that you'll be a part of, right? So with that, let me kind of jump into a few things which are probably top of mind for everyone. I'll briefly talk about the educational experience, career and professional support. I think this is top of your mind right now in terms of what to expect when you graduate and beyond. And finally, the culture and community that you can expect when you come to a school like Darden, right? So let me kind of jump right in and kind of talk a little bit about the teaching pedagogy. So Darden is one of the few schools, apart from Harvard, which uses the case method as the exclusive pedagogy, right? And there are a lot of advantages about it. Indian students might not all have gone through something similar, but it's a great dynamic learning environment where you learn from the perspectives of everyone in the classroom. And you get to debate and analyze a lot of differing worldviews, which might be very different from what you have been exposed to in your background or your industries, right? And this is kind of delivered through some rockstar faculty. And as you can see on the screen, some of these faculty are rated very highly by the industry and the kind of peers schools. As you can see, the Princeton Review and Financial Times have consistently rated Darden faculty as #1. And at Darden, the faculty is very passionate about teaching and are very committed to teaching. So you'll engage, as a student, you'll get to engage with the faculty on a lot more kind of area outside of school hours as well through special interest clubs and organization in social interaction as well. And the Darden faculty take pride in kind of spending a lot of time in the classroom. They're very engaged, and any student that has graduated from Darden will always come back and kind of share about the experiences they had with their kind of faculty and the kind of transformational learning experiences they had at Darden, right? So Kind of moving on, again, if you want, I can dig a little deeper into the case method later on in the Q&A or in the breakout room, but in interest of time, let me kind of move on. The second kind of theme that I wanted to talk about, again, this is kind of top of mind for everyone, is career outcomes. What do you expect once you are out of Darden, once you've graduated? So 2020 was a really difficult year for everyone, but it's heartening and really exciting to share that in terms of career outcomes, we had a record-breaking kind of career outcome for the class of 2020. You can see some of the numbers and the kind of organizations which have recruited actively from Darden. And one thing that will be critical and interesting for international students to know is that the metric that 91% of the international students received a job offer within 3 months post-graduation. I'm sure you have a lot of questions around industries, around functions, around how the numbers stack up, and I can talk about that in the breakout room or in the Q&A. One quick element, one other metric that I want to talk about is
typically, if you can wind up in 30 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. So let me kind of move on to the final part, which is culture and community, right? So I talked about alumni. I talked about an extensive set of clubs and organizations that you can be a part of. And the fact that Charlottesville is a community that really welcomes you. If you are a foodie or you love the outdoors, there will be a lot of things for you. But I seriously doubt you will have the time for all that in the first year. But you will be in great kind of environment, great kind of a company. So with this, I'll quickly end and we'll open up for Q&A later on. Thanks, Vineet. Back to you. All yours, Vineet.
Thank you. Thanks, Hemant. Thank you. Thanks so much, Hemant. And thank you for sticking to your time. Well, that was Darden, one of the top business schools in the US. Some of you did notice that in spite of the pandemic, they did have record placements, so something for all of you to know. I next want to welcome another school from the US, which is the Gabelli School of Business, and representing them is Lawrence Murray. In 2016, Lawrence joined Fordham University as the Senior Assistant Dean of Graduate Business Programs at the Gabelli School. At the start of his tenure, Lawrence's primary area of responsibility included recruiting and admissions, student engagement, and academic services in a graduate division with more than 15 academic programs and 2,000 students. In August 2018, with the simultaneous launch of 3 online business masters, Lawrence's focus shifted to the broader scope of strategic enrollment for the graduate division of the business school. So welcome, Lawrence, and over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Lawrence Murray, and I'm the Dean of Admissions here at the Gabelli School of Business, right in the heart of Manhattan. So I'm just going to share some general information with you all, and then happy to go into quite a bit more detail during our individual school session. So we are right in the heart of Manhattan. And when I say right in the middle of New York City, we are right in the middle of New York City. So even in the midst of a pandemic, which has affected the world, and we know that India is suffering at the moment, and we are sending our thoughts and prayers. But even in the heart of the pandemic, New York is still home to the largest number of private sector jobs in the United States, with nearly 4 million. We have a very broad and deep alumni network. There are approximately 10,000 Fordham Gabelli alumni in the New York tri-state area. The tri-state area is New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Around the globe, there's more than 40,000 Gabelli alumni, and then we're very fortunate to be a part of Fordham University, which has nearly 200,000 alumni all around the world. Our geographic location in the center of New York City gives us access to every industry that you can think of. If you're interested in media and entertainment, for example, Time Warner, which soon will be another company, I think Warner Discovery with the recent merger, that is a 5-minute walk. If you're interested in investment banking, that is a 15 to 20-minute subway ride. If you're interested in consulting or accounting, that's a 10-minute walk down to Rockefeller Center. If you're interested in information technology or technology in general, there are two hubs. One is slightly on the east side, and the other one is across the river, actually, in Brooklyn. So lots of opportunities, lots of access. We like to say business is right in our backyard. You can go to breakfast with an alumni who works in investment banking and make it in time for your 10 a.m. class. We have a full-time MBA program, which is a traditional full-time MBA program. It's 2 years. This is just a quick snapshot of that program. Our students bring in an average of about a little more than 5 years of professional work experience, and they're 28 years old. Typically, the students who are joining a full-time MBA program are career switchers. They are looking to pivot out of a particular function into something different. We also have a good number of students who are skill upgraders or career enhancers. These are folks who they are not career pivoting. They like what they're doing. Maybe they're in consulting, or maybe they're in finance. They just want to ascend the ladder a lot quicker. And so they're using the MBA to enhance that career and to skill upgrade. We also have a very strong portfolio of specialized master's programs in a wide number of verticals. So in our analytics vertical, we have our applied statistics and decision-making, business analytics and marketing intelligence. In our business technology vertical, information technology, we have 2 finance programs in our finance vertical, a Master's of Science in Global Finance and a Master's of Science in Quantitative Finance. We have 3 management programs, a general management program, a media management program, and a strategic marketing and communication program. And then, of course, in our professional services area, we have 2, a professional accounting and a professional taxation. As you can see, the majority of our programs are STEM designated, which is beneficial for which is beneficial for all students because it means that data and analytics are integrated into every aspect of the program. And for international students, it's obviously important because it adds additional work authorization with the extension on the OPT. And again, I'll share much more detailed information in the specialized, in the school session, but we have an open house coming up. It's a virtual open house, June 14th through 16th. There's the QR code. I'll share that again in my information session. And that is all that I have.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Lawrence. You were spot on with the timing. Really, really appreciate. And, I will encourage some of you to later on talk about, how is it to do an MBA in the US at current point of time. We could take that up as a special question. So thank you to both our US business schools. I next want to move on to Canada, where we are represented by York University. York, again, is a top school. Vijinder is an accomplished professional. National
we can't hear you. There's some
an international relations.
There's some problem in your internet.
Professional with experience in marketing, product management, and consulting.
Vijinder, hi. I think Mr. Gupta has logged out. I will request you if you can start your presentation.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, Manisha. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Vijayendra Trivedi. I'm the Associate Director of Student Services and International Relations at Schulich School of Business. Very happy, very excited to be here and looking forward to an interactive session. Before we start, I just, I'm sure, the first thing that comes to mind when you're, researching and thinking about doing an MBA program is where should you do your MBA from? And I think the obvious answer is you would like to do it from a really great brand, right? So one of the best ways to check or do a quick check for how strong the brand is of course the rankings, right? So you'll see that Schulich School of Business has been consistently ranked #1 in Canada and is among world's leading business schools. Of course, a list of top agencies that rank as #1. But the next question that comes to mind is why? What is it about Schulich? Right? 3 things. First, we are global. We are truly global. So with 2 campuses in India, of course, 1 campus in India, 1 in Canada, and we have 5 satellite centers in key trading regions, 31,000 alumni in 90 countries. So we're truly global. The second reason why we are ranked #1 is because the way we approach our programs, we're very innovative. We have 17 specializations that you could choose from, and you can specialize up to 2 areas of business, whether functional or non-functional. Something that's very unique to Schulich is our real-life consulting project, a capstone project. And I want to highlight here that it's not a 3 to 4 week quick project. It's an 8-month-long consulting project where you'll work with a real business and you'll solve a real business problem for them. Right? So it's very innovative the way we approach. Last but not least, we all know that you'll end up working with people from different backgrounds, different countries, different ethnicities, and Schulich prepares you for that. How? More than 50% of our class is international, 60% of international faculty from diverse background, and we also have exceptional program diversity. The other advantage that you get with Schulich is the Toronto advantage. Right? You'll study in one of the most diverse and best cities in the world, right? Toronto, Canada, it's not saturated just yet. There's lots happening there. Lots of course, whether you look at the startup ecosystem, technology, consulting, there's so much happening there and you want to be there, right? Of course, and then you'll think about your immigration and long-term goals, right? So safest metropolitan city in North America, and of course, ranks among the top 5 most livable cities in the world. So you get the Toronto advantage as well with Schulich. I'd like to highlight 2 programs. First is our 2-year Toronto program. Of course, comes with a lot of graduate diploma options, joint degree options. You can do full-time, part-time. You have a September start and also winter, which is January start. And we have 2 campuses there, Keele campus, north of Toronto, and then downtown campus. So this is our 2-year program, MBA program in Toronto. The other program that I would like to highlight is our MBA in India program. It's a dual economy MBA, smaller cohort. We just have 1 September start. It's delivered, year 1 is delivered in India, Hyderabad, and it's of course taught by the Schulich faculty. And then after your year 1, you move to Toronto to do your summer work term, which is internship. And then you integrate with year 2 batch in Toronto. You graduate there and you, of course, are eligible to apply for a postgraduate work permit. So MBA, 2 years Toronto, and then MBA in India. And something that's very important that I would like to highlight, and again, we'll get into details when we meet in the breakout rooms, but we have a very strong support system in place to help you succeed, right? We have coaching, we have tools, we have networking opportunities that our career development center gives us, right? So lots of networking, lots of tools, soft skills development, because you're moving from South Asia to North America, and that's very important. So we are with you and we will train you. And very quickly, these are, of course, Jan 2022 intake is open. The round 1 deadline is June 10th. And of course, I've listed the other round deadlines here. But yes, I'm looking forward to meeting you all and chatting more in our breakout room. Thank you. Over to you, Vineet.
Thank you. Thanks, Vijinder. Really appreciate that all of you are being very, very concise and sticking to timelines. Well, thanks so much. And, I think do breakout rooms should chat with Vijender separately on that. So we covered 2 schools in the US, 1 in Canada, back home in India, and we bring to you the Indian School of Business. I know it's a top favorite with many of you. We have over 340 participants on Zoom today, a record of sorts with us. And representing ISB is Amit Tyagi. Amit is the Associate Director for the Indian School of Business. And he takes the lead in managing PGP admissions. As you know, ISB has various programs, and most students, PGP, the postgraduate program in management is their flagship program, and that's the program that most students want to apply to. He has 13 plus years of experience in education, out of which 8 years has been in admissions for marketing and strategy. So over to you, Amit, and welcome.
Thank you, Vineet. Welcome to everyone here. So I'll just talk 5 things about ISB, the 5 minutes that I have. First is, of course, our global alliances. So when ISB was set up, we were envisioned as a global B school right here in the heart of India, bringing the world's best in management education to our students. And that's why we partnered with Kellogg and Wharton as a founding associate B schools who shared their knowledge and curriculum with us. Moving forward, we partnered with LBS and MIT Sloan for our research practice, and the Fletcher School at the Tufts University for our public policy specialization, which we offer to our students. Now, all these alliances and efforts towards building the brand over the last 20 years have resulted in recognitions by the top ranking agencies and accreditation agencies. And as per FT MBA global ranking, we are now ranked #1 B school in India, and among the only B school in India to be ranked among the top 25 globally. And we also ranked #3 globally in terms of salary increase for our students pre and post MBA. We are also among the only 100 B schools worldwide to have the Triple Crown accreditations, that is accreditation by all the top 3 accreditation agencies, and which ensures that our students are considered on par with MBA graduates worldwide. Now, another thing I want to talk about is a unique portfolio model of visiting faculty. So even though we have 70 plus teaching and research faculty members on our campuses at Hyderabad and Mohali, but we also have a pool of 200 plus faculty members who visit ISB every year for a complete term and teach a complete course which they teach in their respective universities. So with this, you get access to the top teaching talent from top global universities right here in the heart of India. Moving on, I would want to touch upon the alumni network. So even though we are a very young B school, we have still built up a formidable network, alum network in the last 20 years. We now have 11,500 plus alumni spread across 60 plus countries and 400 plus cities, of which 20% are abroad and around 80% are in India. And our 65% of our alums work in the top 5 prominent industries of technology, consulting, finance, e-com, and healthcare. And at ISB, your learning never stops even when you graduate from ISB. You keep learning to the alum network, and there are special interest groups which you can be part of, and keep learning even in your careers, keep networking with your peers and batchmates, and grow your career. Moving on, I want to highlight on the careers. So the uh, people come to PGP program at ISB to transform their careers, and to change their functions and industries. And these are statistics which support this particular point. So around 79% of people last year, other students last year of the cohort, had a functional shift. For example, if they're working in sales prior to joining ISB, they moved to finance or marketing. 70.5 had an industry shift, and 65.9% had both a functional shift and an industry shift. Moreover, there was an increase in average, the increase in average outgoing salary versus incoming salary of the cohort was 173%, on which we are ranked 3rd globally as per the FT Global MBA rankings 2020. Uh, Also, this year, the average salary for the cohort has been 28.5 lakhs per annum. The detailed placement report is still to come out. It will be out in a couple of weeks. And go to our websites and have a look at the placement reports for the last year's graduates as well. Uh, Again, a snapshot of the organizations which recruit at ISB. So idea of this slide is to highlight that, the placements are not unidimensional at ISB, but we have a huge depth in terms of various functions, roles, and geographies. So although we are known as a technology and consulting campus where we are very strong, yes, but we have a depth across functions in terms of the placements, if you look at. So that's all I want to talk about in the formal part of my presentation today. I'll be glad to reach out to you uh, in the breakout room. But if you have any queries which I have not addressed today, you can always reach out to us on these touch points. Please take a snapshot of this slide and reach out to us. We'll be very happy to help you. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Amit. Thank you. We next have IIM Bangalore, represented by Balakrishna B. Mr. Balakrishna B, an alumnus of IIM, has more than 25 years of industry experience in leading IT and manufacturing companies. Currently, he's the head of marketing at IIM Bangalore. Welcome, Bala, and over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jamboree team. I'm happy to be here with you all. This is Bala from IIM Bangalore. I'll be sharing information about a one-year MBA program at IIM Bangalore, which is also known as EPGP, Executive Postgraduate Program in Management. Before going to the one-year MBA program, what are the other different programs that IIMB conducts? Is we have a 5+ years of PhD program. Then we have regular MBA program, which is a 2-year program. Then we have, for the work experience, 2-year weekend MBA program and a Masters in Management program, that is Public Policy program. So these are the other programs that IIMB conducts, which is related to the degree granting. So today's focus is on one-year MBA, that is a full-time residential program at IIM Bangalore. The key factors of this particular program are, it's a batch of 75 students. There is one section only. And this consists of 5 terms. That is, the classes starts in the month of April and ends in the month of March in the next year. And this 12 months is divided into 5 terms, totaling to 720 contact hours. That is the number of teaching hours. So 720 teaching hours is what we have in this 1 year. And these 5 terms is divided into 2 terms of core courses and 2 terms of electives and 1 term of international immersion, where the students will be traveling to a foreign university for 1 full term. And this core courses consists of 13 core courses spread over 2 terms. And the electives, around 11 electives the students will be taking. And the beauty here is the students of this EPGP, they can choose electives from other courses also, in addition to the electives of EPGP program. That means being a student of EPGP, you can be, or you can choose to sit in the class of a PGP program, where the students have come through the CAT for an elective program. Or at the same time, in your class, a person from an IAS cadre who is from the public policy program also will be sitting with you. So that's how the students can choose the electives. So students can choose electives across the program, is the beauty of this particular program. Then we have international immersion, where the student, the whole batch will be traveling to a foreign university for 1 full term, where they will be interacting in a business school along with the faculties and the students of that school. Then they'll be visiting a company there, and also they will be interacting with the market there. Then we are a part of the GNAM. GNAM is Global Network for Advanced Management Studies. This is a partnership developed by the Yale University, and IIMB is the only school which is part of this GNAM. So what is the advantage of this GNAM is, GNAM also will be conducting immersion classes, where our school students will be participating, and that is also another point of interaction with international students for EPGP program. Then we have a complete comprehensive project for this program. And next, moving on to the diversity, the batch of 2021 students, it was 75 students, and the Gmat range of the batch is right from 620 onwards. So always there is a perception that you should be with the high percentile Gmat score. No, it is always goes with the overall candidate's profile. So even with a low Gmat score also, you can make it to the program, provided if you have something extra compared to the other candidates. And the work experience ranges from 5 years, minimum is 5 years work experience. and preferably up to 12 years is what we consider. And this is the kind of the industry segment the students have come from. Even though there is from IT side, the people were used to be more, but in the coming years, it has increased to a manufacturing and the non-IT sector. The admission, the key thing, we will be having we had 3 rounds of admission in the previous year, and the coming year or the next 2022 batch also, we are yet to finalize, and more or less like it will be 3 rounds of admission. And the first round will be ending in the month of August, and next will be in the month of October, and the third will be in the month of January. This is the closing. Eligibility criteria: minimum 5 years of work experience, and you should be a graduate with 50 percentile marks. Valid Gmat or GRE score is compulsory. And then you'll have a statement of purpose and a letter of recommendations. And shortlisted candidates will be called for written ability test and a personal interview. The fees for a shared accommodation, that means a student will be sharing his, is a 3-bedroom house. Students will be sharing that, 3 students, and the cost of that is 27.5 lakhs. Or if the student is looking for a family accommodation, it is 29.5 lakhs. We have scholarships for students, and I can share more
request you to wind up in 30 seconds.
Yes, sorry. Then we have placement support in the institute, and year on year it is an 100% placement. So with this, I'll come to the end of my presentation, and I can take up the questions or specific questions during a separate interaction with you. Back to you, Vineet.
Thank you, Bala. And our last school for today is from Singapore, which, as all of you know, is a great country to live in and work in. Representing the Singapore Management University is their country manager for India, Rajneesh Verma. Rajneesh handles marketing and admissions for SMU. He's an alumnus of IIT Mumbai, and then he did his MBA from IIM Calcutta. And of course, he's worked for 18 years across business consulting, product management, analytics, and sales. Welcome, Rajneesh, and over to you.
Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Jamboree team, and thank you all the participants for being with us on a Saturday evening. Let me straight away get into the presentation in the interest of the time. So you've heard from a lot of good schools across US, Canada, India. Let's go a little further in Asia. So why Singapore? Maybe I'll just club it into 3 factors. One is, if you look at the economic factors, Singapore is the strongest economy in Asia. There's no other economy which is AAA or equivalent rated by your 3 major rating agencies, S&P, Fitch, and Moody's. It's the epicenter of the business activity in Asia. So any company that is operating or looking to enter Asia, they typically set up their business in Singapore, and then they move to the rest of the Asia. It's the second or the third largest financial center, business hub of Asia. If you look at the other factor is the value for money. As an MBA applicant, you're looking at the value that you're going to get out of the money that you're spending. So if you look at the value for money equation, Singapore is very, very favorable. If you look at the cost of our programs, various programs, it's fairly similar to what you have in India. So let me take an example. So our MBA program, which I'll show you the tuition fee, is about 67,000 Singapore dollars. In Indian rupees, it comes to about 33-34 lakhs, and you have schools in India who will charge you almost similar fee. The third important point is the safety. Singapore is probably the safest place anywhere in the world. It's one of the safest countries to live and work. Let me go to the next slide. About SMU, we are a management university. So at undergrad, postgrad, research level, we only deal with management as a subject. These are a couple of our rankings and accreditations. We are one of the triple crown accredited schools. Out of about 14,000 odd schools, there are just about 100 schools which are triple crown accredited. So we are one of them. Number of our programs are ranked in FTR MBA, Executive MBA, Wealth Management, MSc in Management, Applied Science, number of other courses. In terms of courses, we offer about 15 to 20 different postgrad programs across 6 different schools: business school, school of law, accountancy, social sciences, computing and information systems, and school of economics. I'm not going to talk about all these programs. I'll just talk about the MBA program, and you're most welcome to come and speak with me in the breakout room if you want to know about the other programs. Let me straight away get into the MBA program. It's a fairly unique MBA program. It's a one-year program. And the unique thing in this program is that there's a compulsory internship. Normally, I've not seen short duration or one-year MBA programs where there's an internship. So in the SMU MBA program, there's an internship which is minimum of 10 weeks and maximum it can go up to 8 months. There's some flexibility in the program. You can complete the program in about 10 months, or you can even go up to 15 months. The other things are, it's a fairly small program, about 80 to 100 odd students in the program. On an average coming from about 15 to 20 different nationalities. There's something very unique, which again, we've started fairly recently. So there's a lifelong learning option where as an alumni of the program, you can come back to the SMU MBA program once a year and can do one course free of cost for the rest of your life. This is a typical SMB Mba class profile. This includes both the part-time and full-time students. So we also have a part-time cohort. These are some of the details: about 150 odd students, about 5 to 6 years of average experience, about 650 Gmat, various nationalities. As I said, internship is compulsory part of the MBA program. These are some of the companies who recruited our MBA grads for internships. This is something which you would be very interested in knowing about the placements. This detailed placement report is available on the website. I'll just share the screenshot here. About 70% odd people found jobs in Singapore. The average salary was about 98,000 Singapore dollars. Number of schools which are partner schools for exchange programs. This is about the admissions. So we have just one intake, which is January of every year. So the next or the earliest is Jan of 2022. The admissions are open now. We closed round 1 on 15th March. We're in the middle of round 2. The deadline is 15th July. And the final deadline is 30th of October. We require minimum 2 years of experience, GMAT or GRE. There's, if your UG degree was taught in English, then TOEFL or IELTS is not needed. Yeah, that's about it. And this is the tuition fee of the program, about 67,410 Singapore dollars. The number of scholarships on offer, I'll be more than happy to share about the details of these scholarships in the breakout room. And these are my contact details. Thank you so much. Over to you, Vineet.
Thank you. Thanks, Vignesh. So that's that brings us to the end of all the presentations. And if I can sort of start to summarize. I think a few things I'd just like to talk about before we get into Q&A. First is that, you know, most people, my name is Vineet Gupta. In case I didn't introduce myself, I'm the Managing Director of Jamboree Education. And a large part of my career has been in helping students apply to business schools, guiding them on applications. I've been doing that for the last 25 years. I'm also a trustee with the Ashoka University, and a large part of my career has been in the education sector. Why do people do an MBA? Mostly to jumpstart their career. People want to change domains. People want to accelerate their career tracks. They want to go into functions that they always dreamt of going but could not do so. People want to work internationally, study internationally. And those are, by the way, all the right reasons. I think the second thing I would like to talk about is, if you see the common theme across MBA programs is that schools require a GMAT score or a GRE score, right? What schools didn't talk about is what their averages are, which are closer to, for all of the schools that were represented, or most of them, the averages, and this is true for most top schools, the averages are closer to 700 or above 700, right? So if you are looking to get into a top school, that's the sort of score you need to aim for. Having said that, with 600, 650, many more options open up. The third thing to remember is that GMAT is not the only thing that counts on your application. I think what also counts is your quality of work X, your profile, and there are lots of questions coming around. This is my profile. Where can I get in? At this point, I just wanted to also request the Jamboree team, can you enable the Q&A? I requested that in the beginning. Can you enable the Q&A feature? I couldn't see that. Otherwise, questions will have to be posted on chat. Who can hear me from Jamboree? Aniket or Prashant? Are we enabling Q&A?
So it cannot be enabled now. We have to.
Okay. So maybe we'll have to take questions on chat, guys. Let's just stick to that. Whoever has a question, please put it on chat, and I'll be collating those questions and then asking our esteemed panel. But admissions are holistic. GMAT is one thing that schools measure, on your application. They also want to look at the quality of your work ex, your recommendation letters, the quality of your essays, and how you distinguish yourself from other applicants who are applying from India, right? So it's a holistic admissions process. The fourth, and many of you are writing, should I do an MBA now? I'm studying, should I do later? I should remind you that many schools now have deferred MBA option, 2+2 MBA option. You could get admitted now and start your MBA later. That is one option you have. Or there are very, very high quality MIM or MSc management programs available, right? That's the second thing I wanted to share. All across Europe, whether it's HEC, whether it's some programs in the United Kingdom, some programs in US, we increasingly have schools who are willing to take you without work experience, and you do an MIM or what is called an MSc management. These are fairly equivalent to MBA programs, and they put you early towards work experience. So that's sort of one other thing to remember. Lastly, Jamboree as an institution, I just want to talk about a little. We have been there for the last 26 years, since 1995. We are the oldest institution that prepares you for Gmat, that also helps you with your applications. So any of you who are looking to take help on Gmat preparation, anybody is looking to really take help on advisory services, please feel free to put your numbers in the chat box or put your emails, and our team members can get in touch with you, right? We do run centers across India in 14 cities of India. We also run centers in Dubai, in the Middle East, and also in Singapore. Of course, all of our programs are running online right now. The reason being because physically most centers have been shut. But yes, we are looking forward to opening soon. And also all our formats of learning, whether it's live, whether it's online, or whether it's classroom, are fully integrated, right? It's fully integrated. So if you are attending our live sessions, which means classes are taught on Zoom, it's fully integrated with our technology platforms, with online doubt clearing. And when our classes open, you can come back into the classroom. But pretty much the same teachers, the same content is getting delivered, and you can learn from the comfort of your home. So that's about Jamboree. With that, I would now venture into Q&A session. There are lots of questions already coming. There are some school-specific questions which I'm going to skip, and I'll request people to really ask those when you go to your breakout rooms and ask schools about that. What I'll be picking up is, let me start with this first question. I'll request the panelists also to switch on their videos so that we can see you. This first question really, I have 2 years work ex, 3 years work ex, 5 years work ex. I've been working in IT, or I've been working in manufacturing, and I now want to switch. Let's take that question to start with. And maybe I'll start with you, Amit. Since a lot of our applicants also apply to the ISB, how do you see these career switches playing out when people apply to MBA programs, right? How many times are people able to switch from IT to consulting or to sales or marketing? And then we can just quickly go around.
So absolutely, and people do MBA actually to do career switches, whether it's cross industry or cross functions. And whether you're able to do that depends on what kind of skill sets you bring in and how transferable those skill sets are to those target industries which you are targeting, and what kind of skill sets you pick up at the B schools. But yes, definitely, it's very much possible. In fact, that's the whole point of doing an MBA, to have industry transitions or functional transitions. And as I mentioned in my slide, at ISB, around 65% of the candidates every year have both a functional as well as industry switch. Now 80% have either one of them.
Right. If I may also request Vijinder to come in from York. Vijinder, what's your sense representing a Canadian school about these switches? Is that also likely to happen internationally if you go and work outside?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I agree with Amit, because that is your why, right? Why you're doing MBA. right? So this is one of the strong reasons, and that's where you'll tell a good story, saying, hey, this is where I am. These are the skill sets that I currently have. And these are my post-MBA goals, and your MBA program is going to help me get there. Right. So I think that's where we see a lot of people, especially from the technology side, who move to Canada, Toronto, and then they think about whether they want to get into consulting or marketing. I myself did a switch. So I did my MBA from Schulich School of Business. I moved to Toronto, worked there for almost 10 years, and of course, wanted to always come back to India. I did that, and I made a switch. So I went from IT, technology, to core marketing. Like I was doing everything that has to do with marketing. So yes, we have seen lots of people do that, and that's your why. So I think that is what I will leave you with.
Okay, so this is, I think it answers this very crisply for all of those who wanting to change domains. Look at this. Let me switch to another question for our US schools. Which is asked by Sunakshi. What is the future of MBA in US for Indian students, considering the post-study visa issues, which are comparatively more favorable for STEM, particularly in the issue of STEM? I think people with a STEM degree get a 3-year OPT. Lawrence, if I may start with you and then come to Hemant. Future of India MBA for Indian students in the US. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the future looks bright for all students, whether they're from India or other places. And absolutely, you can see there's plenty of articles out there, Poets and Quants, Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, about the increase in the number of MBA programs that are adding a STEM designation by restructuring their MBA programs to integrate those technology and data analytics skills into the fabric of their programs. So again, while that is definitely beneficial for Indian students as well as any other international students to allow them to get the 2-year extension for OPT, it's ideal for anyone, especially if you're a career switcher. The world is digital, so you need to understand whether you're in marketing, whether you're in finance, whether you're in supply chain, accounting, what have you, sort of the concept of technology and analytics, that's embedded in everything. So that's beneficial for everyone.
Right. Hemant, you want to come into just giving the India, this last 2-3 years, 4 years particularly, a lot of some skepticism, at least, of Indians wanting to go to the US. What's your take?
I think, like Lawrence said, the future is very bright, and we've seen it over last year as well. STEM, Darden does offer kind of a STEM kind of option. If you specialize in management science, you can kind of go for that. And there are a lot of dual degrees that we offer as well. So I think coming back to from a filter of Indian students, I think never ever a better time to go to US to do an MBA, despite what happened or the challenges we are going through. All the top schools have seen a spike in admissions. Yeah, it's been a little challenging for people to travel, but like Lawrence said, very bright, and people looking at STEM, there are a lot of options available for students who are looking to explore that.
Right. Bala, if I may come to you now from an India perspective, one, of course, how rigid are you about the 5-year? There were some questions on the chat around that. But also, I think now coming to what are you looking at when you are admitting a student? If you could throw color on both of these aspects.
Sure. For 1-year MBA program at IIM Bangalore, the minimum work experience is 5 years after graduation. That means a candidate should have a minimum of 5 years of work experience, and that too, he should have done this after his graduation. Any exposure to industry or as an internship, if he is a part of any industry during his academics, that cannot be considered as work experience. So minimum 5 years of work experience after graduation is a must. And we have mentioned that preferably up to 12 years, but there is no hard stop of that 12 years of work experience, because we have seen students with 15 years of work experience are also there in the class, and they're doing well and getting a good placement offers also at the end of the program. So this is with respect to the work experience of the students. Then coming to the selection process, there is no one particular aspect of selection process. This is as you mentioned at the beginning, it is a comprehensive process, or it is in total we look at. What are the parameters we consider is academic performance of the candidate, that is 10th, 12th, and the graduation marks. Then his admission test score, that is Gmat or GRE test scores. then the number of years of work experience we consider, and the industry from which he is coming, and any significant achievements of the candidate, and his interview performance. So all these factors will be considered while selecting the candidate. So there is no one area that he should be good in this kind of it, because we have seen candidate with 620 also with the Gmat score, but he's excellent in the other areas, and that's how he got into the program. Yeah, back to you, Vinny.
Okay, thanks, Bala. Rajneesh, if I may come in, because I know SMU has a regular MBA, it also has specialized masters, right? So, and some questions coming, if somebody wants to specialize, is it better to go for a specialized masters like a finance, marketing, something, or is it better to do a general MBA? How would you contrast both? And especially Singapore is a really vibrant hub for management jobs, finance jobs, consulting jobs. How would you compare both?
All right. See, look at this way, right? Of course, there's no right or wrong answer. An MBA or an MIM, for an example, they offer you a holistic education in general management, right? So it covers all the aspects of management education, such as finance, accounting, strategy, operations, HR, etc., etc. Whereas a specialized master's covers more breadth and depth of a particular subject area. So let's say you take finance as an example. Now, let's say, if you take SMU's example, our MBA program has about 18 courses, which are spread across all those areas that I mentioned: economics, accounting, strategy, finance, etc. You can do a specialization. That means you can take certain more number of courses in a particular area, let's say finance. Whereas if you take a master's in finance course, then those 18 or 20 odd courses are going to be in finance. You're covering broader depth, a broader area, as well as depth in finance. So if you're very sure, if you're very keen to, let's say, study finance and want to make a career in finance, in my view, doing a master's in finance is a better option, because you're getting your education, thorough education in finance. Your chances, you'll be mostly doing an internship in finance area, and your chances of getting a job in finance are better, definitely. What an MBA or a general management curriculum does, it also, because of the nature of the curriculum, it kind of opens multiple windows. That's why I said there's no right or wrong answer. So it totally depends on you. So let's say when you do a master's in finance, for some reason, if you're not able to, let's say, crack a job in finance, then what is your backup option? Limited. But when you do an MBA, then you have options in a general management role, or you can look at a marketing role as a second option, or you can do something else, or you can look at technology role, right? Which is not the case when you do a master's in specialized master. So basically, again, there's no right or wrong answer. So these are basically both the sides, the pros and cons of using a finance or a specialized master versus a general management, and vice versa.
Got it. No, that's a fairly crisp answer, Anish. Okay, let's pivot and let's come to this question, which is coming a lot of times. Amit, I'm going to start with you again this time. So lots of questions coming. Somebody is saying, look, and this is really on work experience. I'm pivoting to work experience. Somebody is saying, look, is work experience from healthcare considered good enough? Somebody saying, I have 3.5 years in IT. Is that okay? Equally, somebody saying, I have 16 years, right? How is my profile going to be viewed? And yet somebody else has this question that, look, should I be working for a brand name like a KPMG, BCG, etc., or WorkX in an ordinary firm which is not as branded, as relevant? So Amit, how do we start to, and I'm really going to go around the panel, how do we demystify this whole WorkX myth?
Okay, so especially for ISB, it's all a combination of factors which you have mentioned here. Do we look at organizations you are working in? Yes, we do look at that. We look at the number of years of work experience. Yes, we do look at that. But those are not the only things. What matters more is the kind of work you're doing, and the kind of achievements you have at your work, and the kind of progression you have made at work. So for instance, somebody who has worked for 4 years but has shown achievements on those 4 years, as well as progression in the career, maybe a couple of promotions, will definitely be have more points than somebody who has worked for 4 years in the same role, in the same organization with less achievements. So work experience is a combination of things, and all the things matter. So if you feel that you're not working for a good brand, but you can always showcase your achievements and your progression in a startup, and the kind of skill sets you've got. All those things will be part of work experience. It's not just any one particular thing.
Right. And really, in the sense, sector agnostic, whether it's healthcare, IT,
yes,
everybody's welcome. And you're saying while years and quality of the company is important, but those are not the only things. We are looking at many other things too, especially quality, progression, etc. Hemant, what's your perspective from the US? I'm sure you guys really want 2 years minimum at Darden, but how are you evaluating WorkX?
So, Vinny, typically Darden looks at 5 years of experience, and typically most of the students have in the region of that. Having said that, if again, we look at it like everyone said before, a holistic kind of application. We are looking at a lot of different things except just Gmat or the work years of experience. However, I mean, we'll kind of, if someone is kind of just starting out, we have a program called Future Year Scholars where they can start off even if they are in the final year of college. They can go ahead and apply for the program, go and do their work experience and come back later to Darden, right? So again, we look at a lot of different factors. I mean, work experience is just one of them.
Right. And would you look at somebody with 2-3 years, or would you encourage people to be more on the 4-year, 5-year side?
I would encourage them to have more experience. But having said that, if it's something really exceptional in terms of what they have done or their narrative or their journey, the admissions team would definitely want to talk to them. But again, yeah, what we have seen is typically they tend to have more experience coming in.
Quick takes from both of you, Lawrence and Vijender, maybe in that order on WorkX.
Yeah, I agree. It's more, while our average student comes in with a little more than 5 years of work experience, that range is really from 3 to about 6 years. And it's less important about the number of years and more important about what you've done in those years. We don't take students with less than 3 years of work experience. But those that are on the shorter end of the work experience, someone that's coming in with 3 years, those are students that have really had strong experience. Maybe they've been accountants for the last 3 years, or they've worked in investment banking, or they've worked in consulting, but it's not exclusive to those industries or those functions. And we've also got students that have worked for great startups, technology firms, education technology firms, marketing technology firms. So it's a wide variety. So for us, and I would venture that most of my colleagues would agree, as many of them have already said, it's more about what you've done in the amount of work that you have than necessarily the number of years.
Right. And Vijender, same perspective from Canada on WorkX.
Yes. Of course.
Would you be okay with 2 also? I've heard some Canadian schools want minimum 3.
Yes, so 2 years is a minimum for our MBA programs. Of course, we do have specialized master's programs, and one of the thumb rules we have is if you have less than 2 years of work experience, you would go with the specialized master's. And if you have 2+, then we recommend the MBA program.
And how do you look at people with startups, entrepreneurial WorkX? How is that looked at, Vijender?
We love entrepreneurs and people who have worked with startups, because I think, again, going back to what my colleagues said, it's of course industry sector agnostic. But one thing that I'd like to highlight is we spend a lot of time building the class, right? Because it's of course there's only so much that you can learn from the faculty, right? So you'll have that peer-to-peer learning. So what we look at is, of course, where you're coming from, but what your post-MBA goals are. Right. So we want to build a diverse cohort where you're learning from your peers as well. Right. So that's one thing. And just looking at the holistic evaluation, I just want to leave it, 3 things that we really look at is your leadership skills. Right, because that is very important.
And how would you qualify leadership? That's an interesting point you brought out in there. Would that mean people have been leading teams? How would you qualify leadership?
No. So a title does not mean you're a great leader. Not at all. So I think that's one thing that we are all, especially students from India, are obsessed with. Hey, do I need to be a team leader to have a very good profile and to say that I have leadership skills? No. There are a couple of things that we look at. First is, have you taken any initiatives, right? You could just be, just started 2 years into the role, but if you've taken any initiatives, yes, you do have leadership qualities. Second, did you just stick to 9 to 5 or did you go above and beyond? Did you do any extracurriculars? That shows that, you're a good leader. And last but not least is, how did you give back to the community? Because again, as 14, 15 months, I'm sure COVID taught us a lot of things. So giving back to community is another important aspect that we look at when we review profiles, right? So it's a holistic evaluation. Yes, Gmat score, GPA, they help with the initial filters, but I think when you get into that whole competitive listing, that's where all of these other qualities is what we think you should highlight, whether it's in your essays or when you're, of course, doing your...
Anish, you want to add to this whole dimension of what makes a good work ethic, especially this whole leadership dimension that Vijender spoke of.
Vineet, actually, it's. I think I tend to agree with what Amit initially mentioned. That there are a number of factors that that are into play. So there's no like. So every application, every resume that comes to us, we look at it on a case by case basis on its merit. So somebody could be working in a big brand name company, but might not be really growing in the role, might not be really contributing too much to the team or to the client or to the project, right? At the same time, somebody could be working in a startup, but in addition to, let's say, building the product or the service framework, he or she could also be reaching out to the investors, raising money, could be playing the role of the HR person, recruiting for the team, at the same time, meeting clients and doing the sales also. So it depends on a lot of factors. So thing is, there's something that, I would say, though it's difficult to quantify something like, what kind of impact you're making, right? So impact on your team, on your growth, on your skill set, on your client. And then when you talk about this in the context of the application, then whatever you have done so far and the piece that is, the MBA that you're going to do, how is it going to add value to you, and what is your post MBA career plan, and how all these things fit into the story nicely. So that's what makes a very good application, and the flow that comes. Look, I've done so. This is what I've done. This is what I'm lacking, and this is what the MBA is going to give me, and this is what I plan to do with the skill set that the MBA is going to give me, and that's what I plan to do going forward. So that's the kind of a good story that that would really click with most of the business schools, I would think.
Okay, so you were really talking about the more holistic story, and I'll come to that in a minute. Anything from you, Bala, on a differentiated work ethics? What are your one or two pieces of advice on differentiation?
Yeah. See, when it comes to the work experience, it is not just the number of years of work experience that counts. What is the value addition the candidate has given to the organization? That's what we look at. Of course, the way we look at the candidate is 5 years of work experience. At that level, what is the kind of contribution that he has given to the team? At the same time, a 10-year work experience guy, we expect him something higher, maybe at building a team or interaction with the clients. And in a different way, we look at a 10-year experience guy and a 5-year experience guy when it comes to its contribution to the organization. So it is not just the number of years of work experience or the brand of the company or the role at which he is playing. It is mainly what is his value addition to the organization and what is that skill set he is bringing to the table, to the class, is what we look at. And also, being an MBA class, we prefer to have all 75 students, assuming the class is of 75. All students are from different sectors, different industries with the different roles. So that's what we prefer to have in the class. So thereby we look at candidates from different industry segment. It can be from the defense side, or it can be from an NGO side. It can be from a health sector, manufacturing, services industry. We look at all kinds of things, and wider the profile of the candidates in the class is better for us. That's it.
Right. So really, I think what I'm hearing from all of you is, first to say, look, the quality of the organization matters, number of years may matter, but what matters more is the quality of work ethics. The pretty business schools are agnostic. Again, people are asking, what about construction? What about every profile is welcome. Every sector is welcome. Doesn't really matter where you coming from. Differentiated, what value did you add to the organization? What's the sort of quality you brought in? Leadership, I think Vijender made some great points on how are you helping the community? How are you going beyond? What sort of extracurriculars that you did? What sort of initiative that you took in the organization? I think really the qualitative aspects bring out the best in your profile. Hemant, you wanted to add something? I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I just kind of, I saw a lot of questions around that. So I just thought I'll kind of share a perspective. So everyone on the panel will agree, the more diverse the class, the better experience you have in the classroom, right? And particularly and Lawrence will agree, for example, in US schools, particularly in Darden, because it's so close to Washington, we get a lot of people from military. Just imagine having someone who has served in different kind of theaters and what kind of experience they can bring to the class. And then you have someone who is an entrepreneur from Latin America. Look at what perspectives they can bring to the class, right? And then you have someone who is kind of doing community work or is working in an NGO in Asia. What kind of perspectives they can bring? I think this diversity and if students think that they are from a industry which is underrepresented, that's more to that's even more exciting, because that means there's a unique perspective, a unique voice that you will have in the classroom, and people will reach out to you and say, oh, you're from healthcare, what are your perspectives here? You're from construction, you're from the military, you're from an NGO, you're from a non-government, so the more diverse the perspectives, the more diverse the kind of students coming in, it enriches the entire kind of fabric of the class.
Well, thanks, Hemant, for bringing up. I was about to bring up this question and you preempted. So, Amit, would you think, compared to somebody coming from an IT background, somebody coming from a less represented sector may have a better chance? I think back to the point that Hemant is making.
Yes, of course. So if you look at B schools in India, at least, most of the B schools, the ratio is skewed towards engineers when we compare it with engineers to non-engineers. But at ISB, we have one of the highest ratios of engineers versus non-engineers, but it's still more than 50% engineers. And that's more to do with the fact that most of the students in India offer engineering for their graduation. But yes, people who come in from diverse backgrounds, people who come in with a different viewpoint, people who have worked in diverse industries, they have a better chance because they come in with those perspectives, not just in the interviews, but also for classrooms should be useful in classroom discussions. So yes, we do have consideration for people who come from diverse backgrounds.
Right. Okay, let me just shift gears a little, because some people are asking about what are programs for freshers, people who are just graduating or in college. Maybe what would the panel's advice be for that? Lawrence, should I start with you? If people are looking to come to the US, I know there are many MBA programs in the US that take people right out of college. I don't know whether Fordham does, but what's your advice to some of these people? Should they look at these specialized masters, etc.?
Yeah, yes, there are some MBA programs that will take students right out of university or college. But I think most notable full-time MBA programs will require some work experience. As you've heard, that's a wide range from the panel. But I would encourage those students to look at the specialized master's programs. But for the MBA program, the MBA is a manager's degree, and I think sometimes students who are right at freshers, they have unrealistic expectations about the level of their skills and competencies, and it's not just about the technical skills, right? So yes, anybody can be taught how to build financial models, build projections, run a marketing rubric. Anybody can be taught that, but there's a level of emotional and professional maturity that only comes with professional work experience. And no matter how smart you are in the classroom, it's not going to make up for the fact that you haven't had those opportunities. So that's why many of the schools in the US are sticking to the requiring a minimum number of years of work experience. But the specialized masters are a great option for students, especially those that are coming from a highly technical background. Engineering is one of them, to give them a strong foundation in some of the business skills. That could be a generalist Master of Science in Management, or you could also do one of the truly specialized master's degrees that will give you a functional skill set along a much more narrow path. But either of those options, I think, prepares a fresher to enter the working world with not only strong technical skills, which they have from their background, but also a strong understanding and a deployment of those technical skills from a business perspective with a specialized master's program.
Rajneesh, if I may request you to come in too, because you guys run a lot of programs for students right out of college, and what's your perspective? Really program for students coming out of college wanting to do a business program.
Yeah, Vineet. So if you want to study immediately right after completion of your graduation, then you can consider the MSc. If you're looking at general management, then look at an MSc in management. I think you touched upon that course. MSc in management and MBA are very similar curriculum. Just that MBA typically requires you to have some years of experience post completion of your degree. In our case, we require minimum 2. The average is about 5 to 6 years, and I heard from other schools that they also prefer more number of years of experience. So the option for you is either you work for a few years and then build your profile and then do an MBA 3-4 years down the line, or you do an MSc in management. And again, I would say there's no right or wrong answer. There are some people who work for a few years and go and do an MBA. There are some people who do MSc in management right after finishing their undergrad degrees. In fact, if you look at the data that you see, in a lot of these places like Poets and Pawns, etc., Gmat, apparently the MIM programs are actually seeing more interest now compared to MBA programs. That's what I keep hearing and I keep reading.
Right. So, I think that's a great perspective. So for everybody who's still in college, fresher, looking to do MBA programs, lots of options for you guys. Some very high, as I mentioned, look at HEC France, look at Singapore Management University, look at ESSEC, look at Duke. There are lots of programs offering specialized masters. Those are, some of them are absolutely great options. Now, let me also sort of just pivot and,
Vineet,
yes, Hemant.
If I can quickly chip in, I briefly mentioned it. Darden also has a Future Scholars Program, and this is specifically for people who are in college. So essentially a fast track for them to kind of, if they know that MBA is in the future, they can apply for the program, get accepted, and then kind of go and do their professional work experience. And they are part of the system. And after a couple of years, 3-4 years of experience, they can kind of start the MBA program. So I've just put the link in the chat. That's a very exciting program, and we have seen amazing outcomes out of that. So that's something for people to consider.
So thanks for bringing this, Hemant. And all of you do know the ISB has such a program. Many business schools have such programs where you apply while you are still in college, and you can come and do your MBA later on. Lots of questions coming. What is better? Is MBA better or MIM better? And again, I can continue to see these questions, right? And as Rajni said, there is no right or wrong answer, right? MIM allows you to get into the workplace or study early on. So you are saving 3 to 5 years. MBAs are taking you to education after 3-4 years of work ex, where you are a little bit more mature. So you may be able to gain more, right? So really no right and wrong answer. I can tell you over the last 25 years, I've seen lots of candidates who've done either, and very varying. So you have to really decide what works for you. If you are very keen to go and study right after college, then MIM is the program for you. Okay. Let me just pivot and go into the other qualitative aspects of the application. Let's talk a little bit about essays. Vijender, other than WorkX, etc., what else are you? And this question about academics versus Gmat. Somebody says, I have low academics. What chance do I have? What's your advice there, Vijender, if I can start with you and just go around?
Sure, absolutely. So, of course, you have to meet the minimum admission requirements, right? GPA or Gmat, that's basic, this thing that I would strongly recommend, right? But let's say for some reason you don't have a GPA, then I think you actually have an advantage where you can leverage the essays to showcase your, again, I'm going back to leadership skills, right? Your extracurriculars, your community service, but more importantly, your why. Because I think that needs to be very, very strong, because that tells, that is where you're telling us a very good story, right? Why you want to do your MBA. And then the other tip that I want to give is don't, miss out on the optional essay that does, I'm sure a lot of business schools give you an option to write something, an optional essay. You should take advantage. We love applicants who leverage the optional essay, because that's another opportunity for you to highlight a couple of things. That's, let's say you didn't get a good Gmat score. I'm sure there's a reason behind that. So you can just spend maybe a line or two explaining why, and then jump it right away into saying what else, what is it that you can bring to the table, to the class, the different lens that you would use to solve a business problem. I think those are the details that we're looking at. So again, we have low GMAT, no worries. Focus on other parts of your application and highlight them in your resume and your essays.
Amit, coming to you, with a high GMAT compensate for a low GPA? Also, people say I have 8 years, 10 years, 16 years. Are they somewhere suggesting they can get away with a lower GMAT? What's on years versus GMAT and GPA versus GMAT? What's your take there?
So it's not just about years or GPA or GMAT. What we look at is a holistic profile-based, profile of the candidate. And we generate something called a profile score of the candidate based on 5 parameters. So it's on your ACADS, on your work experience, on your test score, your essays, and your letter of recommendation, which you submit. Based on these 5 factors, we generate the profile score, and that is used for shortlisting the candidates. So all these 5 things are important. Of course, some of them have more weightage, some of them are lesser weightage, but each alone may not be enough to get you a shortlist for the interview. So you may say, I may have 760 or 770 GMAT, but still you may not get a shortlist as long as you don't work, if you don't work on the other 4 parameters. So it's about balancing all these 5 factors. If you have lower ACADS, of course, a higher GMAT will help, a better work experience profile will help, and similarly with other parameters. If you have a good work experience on ACADS, and a lower GMAT might work. So it's not just about 2 parameters, we look at 5 parameters at ISB.
Yeah. No, and I'm assuming since most people can't go back to school and change their GPA,
yes,
the only thing they can control now is their GMAT.
Is that GMAT
so somewhere
score, yes.
That may help. And as you said, maybe other qualitative aspects of the application. Thanks, Amit. So I'll just go quickly around. Bala, any last pieces of advice to the applicants?
Yes, Vineet, as you mentioned see, the academics is already given to you. You cannot do any rework on that. The number of years of experience also is already in your hand. You cannot do much on that. So what is in your hand is the GMAT or the GRE score. So don't compromise with a lower GMAT or GRE score. Do the best and get the highest, whatever is possible from your end. So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is the diversity in the class. Just to give you an example, an average student in terms of the performance of both academics and also in the admission test score, but he has come from the industry which is totally unheard of. That is a political sector. He was working for a political party here in India. He was a part of the MP group and also the initiatives from the MP side. So, and also we have heard that in Bangalore, that particular group has done a lot of work, especially in the Corona time. So this is a total diversity that brings into his profile, and he gets some gloomy points. So this is the kind of the broader spectrum of candidates that we look at when it comes to selecting the candidate. So a low in one area, but high in the other area, yes, the candidates will get a better score.
Okay, effectively making the same points in different ways. Lawrence, yes. Any last words of advice?
Yeah, I think one of the resounding themes that that's been echoed here is the holistic approach of the application process. And while that may look a little different on the fringes for depending on the school that you're applying to, it does mean that we're looking at a wide variety of variables in your application. So I've been recruiting in India for more than 20 years. I know that Indian students can get hung up on things like GMAT scores and undergraduate grades. Those are important. I don't want to say that they're not important, but those are not the only things that we're looking at. So just make sure that you do your research, understand yourself, understand your values, make an alignment of those with the schools that you're interested in, and make your school decision from there.
Right. Thanks, Lawrence. Rajneesh, any closing words?
Yeah, for SMU, we don't even look at we don't have explicit undergrad GPA requirements. So we look at your GMAT or GRE.
Okay. So you're saying you guys just prefer GMAT. Okay, that's very clear. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, Hemant?
Actually, just very quickly on GMAT and GRE. In fact, we have flexibility this time. People can request a GMAT GRE waiver. I think the larger point is that's important. And we typically have 700+ GMAT scores. For Indian students is even more. Don't get hung up on it. I think one critical thing is to reflect. You have the time now, reflect, get your narrative together. Who are you as a person? Where are you looking to go? Who are you as a genuine? Don't try to figure out a formula or try to game the system in terms of, if I get a GMAT score of like this is the kind of schools I'll get into, or if I write my essay in this particular fashion, maybe the admission committee wants to hear this. Don't worry about all that. Just kind of relax, have fun with it, let your genuine story come out, right? All these elements are important. And when we look at admissions, we look at a lot of different metrics.
Yeah. So there you bring about the important point, be genuine and authentic. I think, Vijender?
I agree with Hemant. I think you have to be genuine. You have to tell a very good story. And again, the other thing that you should highlight, and this should come in your essays, interviews, anything that we read, is what are you truly passionate about, right? As long as that is solid and that's visible, I think you're good to go. So yes, of course, you can go back and change your GPA, focus on getting a good GMAT score or a GRE score. It does help. But again, there are other parts of applications where you can really stand out and submit a strong application.
Right. And Amit, anything last from you?
Yeah. So I'll just advise the candidates, since they're an early part of applying to the B schools, to think through 3 key questions: why you want to do an MBA, as Vijender also has been pointing this out; when you want to do an MBA, whether it's the right time for you in a professional life, or where you can commit a year or 2 from your personal life; and third is where you want to do an MBA from. So ideally, people look at doing MBA from the country in which they are intending to work in. So think through all these 3 questions before you start your application to the B schools.
Okay. So why, when, and where? Answer those 3 questions. That's a good note to end on. At this point, we will also be going into the breakout rooms. I'm going to request Aniket to just guide part. In the breakout rooms, you will have all of these 6 schools present in a different Zoom link, and Aniket will share the details. Depending on your interest, you can go to any of those booths. You can also hop, that you can go to one booth and then maybe spend 10 minutes and go to another one, and have any school specific questions, right? Aniket, over to you to guide students on how they should do this.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay, so I hope you had a very good informative session till now, but since now we are breaking out into separate rooms, I would first of all request all the panelists to, you can please, if you can log out and log into your respective booths. And as far as the other participants now, so now I saw the chat, I saw in the chat that you had many questions, and I'm sure many of you did not, I mean, the questions were not fully answered or were not personalized to your profile. So for those we have the second part of the webinar, which is the breakout rooms. So here's what you do. We are going to I'm going to post a link in chat, which is jamboree.li/MBA. It's jamboree.li/MBA. May I request Prashant, if you're here, to post it in the chat?
All right.
Okay, once you are on this page, I'll quickly take you through this. So this has, as you can see, in total, we have 10 booths. We start with, so we have a verbal Gmat, a booth for Gmat verbal, a booth for Gmat quant. So here, whatever questions you may have regarding Gmat, you can log into these booths. And so now people who have more questions regarding MBA admissions, you can stay back in this room only, or if you are visiting another room and you want to come back to this room. So here we are going to host MBA admissions related questions. We are going to answer those. So one of my colleagues, Aninder Singh Dhaka, will be here to answer all your questions related to MBA applications. If you scroll down, you will see the list starts with IIM Bangalore, IASB, Darden, York Schulich, Fordham, SMU, and then We also have a booth where you can join Anandu to ask any questions related to funding options or education loan. Okay, so I believe now, now that you all have the link, I'm just going to repeat it one more time. It's jamboree.li/MBA.
For those of you who, if you want to copy the link in any of your notes, please do that, because once we move from here, the link will not be visible, right? If you want to copy it, note it, take a picture, just do that. We will be moving to breakout rooms, 10 breakout rooms, 2 for Gmat, 1 for MBA admissions, 6 MBA programs here, and then 1 for education loans, right? Is that clear? Okay, on that note, then a very, very hearty thanks to all the panelists for joining us today. We had some great conversations. I know many questions still couldn't be answered. Hopefully, we will have many more occasions to meet all of you and answer more questions. But a good time to do an MBA. Pandemics often throw out opportunities. So plan your MBA now if you've not been doing so far. Thank you. Good evening and take care. Aniket, anything?
No, sir. Thank you. I would request now Aninder.
Okay, somebody said link is not working.
Okay, I'm just going to give you the entire link in the chat. Give me a second. So I've just added the complete link.
So where should people click on